A decent, delightful afternoon to one and all on behalf of KR Srinarayana College, Valancheri. I welcome you all to Dishana 2021, a multidisciplinary international webinar series organized by KR Srinarayana College, Valancheri, in association with Kerala State Higher Education Council. I request all the participants to mute your audio and video to avoid disturbance and bandwidth issues. I also request to put your mobile phone on silent mode throughout the program. Thank you so much. Let's begin the program by invoking Almighty of God. Prayer.
ദൈവമേ കാത്തുകൊള്ളുകങ്ങ് കൈവിടാതിങ്ങു ഞങ്ങളെ നാവികൻ നീ ഭവാദിക്ക് ഒരാവിവൻ തോണി നിൻ പദം ഒന്നൊന്നായി എണ്ണി എണ്ണി തൊട്ടെണ്ണും പൊരുളൊടുങ്ങിയാൽ നിന്നിടും ദൃക്ക് പോലുള്ളം നിന്നിലസ്പന്ദമാകണം അന്നവസ്ത്രാദി മുട്ടാതെ തന്നു രക്ഷിച്ചു ഞങ്ങളെ ധന്യരാക്കുന്ന നീയൊന്നു തന്നെ ഞങ്ങൾക്കു തമ്പുരാൻ ആഴിയും തിരയും കാറ്റും ആഴവും പോലെ ഞങ്ങളും മായയും നിൻമഹിമയും നീയുമെന്നുള്ളിലാകണം നീയല്ലോ സൃഷ്ടിയും സ്രഷ്ടാവായതും സൃഷ്ടിജാലവും നീയല്ലോ ദൈവമേ സൃഷ്ടിക്കുള്ള സാമഗ്രിയായതും നീയല്ലോ മായയും മായാവിയും മായാവിനോദനും നീയല്ലോ മായയെ നീക്കി സായുജ്യം നൽകുമാര്യനും നീ സത്യം ജ്ഞാനമാനന്ദം നീ തന്നെ വർത്തമാനവും ഭൂതവും ഭാവിയും പേരല്ലോതുമൊഴിയുമോർക്കിൽ നീ അകവും പുറവും തിങ്ങും മഹിമാവാർന്ന നിൻ പദം പുകഴ്ത്തുന്നു ഞങ്ങളങ്ങ് ഭഗവാനെ ജയിക്കുക ജയിക്കുക മഹാദേവ ദീനാവനപരായണ ജയിക്കുക ചിദാനന്ദ ദയാസിന്ധോ ജയിക്കുക ആഴമേറും നിൻ മഹസ്സാം ആഴിയിൽ ഞങ്ങളാകവേ ആഴണം വാഴണം നിത്യം വാഴണം വാഴണം സുഖം.
KR Srinarayana College is a self-financing institution established in 2016 located at Valancheri, Malappuram district. The college is affiliated with the University of Calicut and offers UG courses in BA Economics and English, BCom Finance, Computer Applications, BBA, BSc Geology, Computer Science, Psychology, and Physics. The institute is committed to excelling in all the disciplines and provides training in developing professional responsibility and social sensitivity and cultural awareness. Management commitment and vision is reflected in all areas, including infrastructure, staff selection, motivation, conduct of skill development classes, and industrial visit. Dishana 2021 is a multidisciplinary international webinar series organized by KR Srinarayana College, Valancheri, in association with Kerala State Higher Education Council from 8th November 2021 to 29th November 2021. The webinar is going to be an excellent platform for discussing recent trends in the field of languages, sciences, and social sciences. 16 renowned plenary speakers from various national and international premier institutes have consented to deliver their lectures. The beneficiaries of this program will be undergraduate and postgraduate students, research scholars, and faculty members from various colleges and institutions and universities. This international webinar is expected to provide curricular enrichment for students and professional development for faculty members. Expecting your wholehearted participation in and encouragement. Impact of COVID-19 on exchange rate. In relation with the international webinar conducted by Department of Economics, the impact on COVID-19 on exchange rate. An exchange rate is value of country's currency versus another country or economic zone. Most exchange rates are free floating and will rise or fall based on supply and demand in the market. As economics is a global subject, touches every aspect of a society constituting economy, a true face of a nation. Really, a pandemic causes far-reaching impact on our domestic currency and foreign currency. This webinar aiming to understand the importance of the ongoing effects of COVID-19 on several economies and their currencies. This presentation attempts to highlight the impact of COVID-19 in the most affected countries of the world, such as China, USA, India, Italy, especially in the context of their respective currencies. It is the time for welcome speech. Now I invite Mr. Riju K, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics. Welcome speech. Sir, please.
Good afternoon, all. The Honorable Principal Dr. Anil Sir, Head of the Department, Amina Miss, Coordinator of National International Webinar Series, Dr. Jitin Sir, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, Shijin Sir, the compare of the day section, Miss Aisha Fida, delegates and research scholars from various colleges, our research person, Miss Dina Lawrence, and my dear students. It's with great pleasure that in the name of the organizing committee of International Webinar Series, K.R. Srinarayana College and the Department of Economics, I have honor to give you a distinguished guest and colleagues. The warm welcome to all to this section, the impact of COVID-19 on the exchange rate. The international webinar proudly organized from the Department of Economics. Once again, I gladly welcome to all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Ms. Amina A, Assistant Professor and Head Department of Economics to deliver presidential address. Ma'am, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Esteemed Principal Dr. Anil B, and the coordinator of International Webinar Series, coordinated by K.R. Srinarayana College, Ishana, and Assistant Professors of Department of Economics, Mr. Shijin K. and Mr. Riju, my dear students, faculty members, and this magnificent session of today would not have been possible without the support of Dr. Jitin, Mr. Shijil, and Mr. Riju. So I express my heartfelt thanks to all the three. And economics is a global subject. Every global phenomenon seriously affects this discipline. This pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic seriously hurt our investment, our savings capacity, our domestic currencies, foreign currency, the exchange rate, very precisely the exchange rate, international relations and all. In such a situation, the Department of Economics coordinated an international webinar in relation with the topic impact of COVID-19 on exchange rate, carrying huge relevance. And I'm very blissfully and proudly introduce you a very eminent personality, Ms. Dina Lawrence, in front of you, each and everyone. A veteran teacher with 29 years of experience at different nations, at different levels, backed a lot of international qualifications, cracked a lot of international level exams. So I very proudly introduce Madam Dina in front of you, a very veteran, very academician. And I can't continue my speech without mentioning some eminent personalities like Professor Jacob John of Royal Engineering and Technology, Director of Placement and Training Cell, for his support and effort, for his kindly advice to me. And Mr. Tristan James, the research scholar of the University of Indonesia, for his wholehearted support to join with us, even though he is running through huge academic schedules and commitments with his own university. He is willing to part with us. And I need to appreciate Ms. Aisha Fida of third semester economics for comparing our program. And I express my sincere gratitude for all of you gathered here for your energy, intellect, support for us. Thank you and God bless you all.
Now we have very distinguished personality, Tristan James, for deliver few words. Sir, please.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, for inviting me to this seminar. As we know that COVID-19 has thrown the whole world to disarray in the year 2020, the economic news from the second quarter of 2020 is obviously gloomy. Most nations across the globe saw a substantial decrease in GDP growth as a consequence of the global financial crisis. A country's GDP is the total worth of all completed products and services produced inside its border during a certain period of time, as a definition of GDP. Now, if we look to the statistic in Indonesia in the first quarter of 2020, the rate of economic growth in Indonesia was only 2.97%. When compared to the fourth quarter of 2019, the economy grew by only 4.97% in the first quarter of 2019. In fact, economic growth has fallen significantly short of the 5.07% achieved in the first quarter of 2019. Now, by GDP, the year-on-year growth on the third quarter of 2020 was minus 3.5%, lower than in the second quarter of the year. Now, in Bali, my homeland, tourism growth has a significant impact on a variety of industries, from small to major, and each sector has an effect on others. This has the potential to stimulate the economy in districts and municipalities, which in turn can help create jobs and avoid population movement to a place, which is a city, by using the region's natural and cultural resources. Now, as we all know, tourism creates commercial opportunities, particularly in handicrafted souvenirs, hotels, restaurants, and other service industries, which can contribute to community welfare and the development of a just and prosperous society. And with the growth of tourism, the community economic sector expands as well, creating additional business chances and opportunities and employment prospects, all of which contribute to a thriving society on local, national, and worldwide scale. Now, COVID-19 has a significant impact on nearly every part of the society, including the tourist sector. And as a result of increased travel restrictions, cancellation of big events, and the general aversion to foreign and domestic travel, Bali has now reopened its tourism so that more people are coming in, so that the economy will be stable in the next following years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to invite Professor Jacob John for delivering few words. Sir, please.
Greetings to you all in the name of God Almighty. It's a great joy for all of us having gathered here in this seminar. So I'm so happy to hear that it is being conducted for the past many days. And I wish all this seminar students, the researchers, the faculty, and all people concerned be blessed, be adorned with all blessings, so that this might be useful in their day-to-day life and in the days to come. I wish the seminar a grand success. Thank you one and all.
Now it's a time to invite our resource person, Ms. Bina Lawrence, a bright, blazing academician that we ever have, a lady with gift to academic excellence and talents, qualified lectureship as a criteria for higher education in India during the very younger ages, then bagged a very prestigious international degrees like International Baccalaureate, and she is the senior economics educator, international curricula, cracked highly privileged IGCSE of Cambridge University, have a very dazzling academic career as a teacher with 29 years of experience in different curricula, different countries, and at different levels, participated and present papers in different national and international seminars and webinars with publication. Even though Madam Veena running through heavy and busy academic time, she accepted our request and accelerate us. With her magnificent presence, we heartfully invite Ms. Beena Lawrence to deliver the session. Ma'am, please.
Thank you for welcoming. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. Before I begin the topic, let me express my gratitude to God Almighty and the KRS Srinarayana College family, especially to Ms. Amina, HOD of Economics, for considering me as a resource person for this international webinar series. Today's topic is very relevant and current, as Ma'am Amina told, has a punch. Impact of COVID-19 on exchange rate. Here, we need to analyze two aspects, the COVID-19 pandemic and the exchange rate. The voluminous data and literature is available regarding this on internet, online and offline articles. The COVID-19 pandemic snatches the life of about 5.2 million people across the world. Next slide. Across the world, hardly within 2 years, the loss of life made people sad, inactive, non-confident, and much, much more. As we belong to the Department of Economics and pursuing economics, we have to see the economic impacts of this pandemic on microeconomic decision makers like consumers, producers, macroeconomic decision makers like governments of different countries. As ample data available, and we have a flyer to analyze data and prove the facts empirically, I am not going to that section, but would like to focus on the theoretical and logical aspects of this challenge, which are debatable. The pandemic affected our education level, style, and trend. Then it affected the social well-being due to restrictions on social life, having quality time. Next slide. Volunteer work, celebrating our traditional culture. Then it affected our physical and mental health is being distorted, and it is affected ones, distorted of the affected ones and mental health of the kith and kins. It impacted the racial inequalities and gender inequalities. All these social indicators are debatable. It varies country to country. There are a lot of economic impacts. The production sector, especially aviation, manufacturing, tourism, education, etc., generally the production and productivity decreased. Unemployment, especially demand deficient unemployment, increased. Natural rate of unemployment like frictional and structural unemployment also increased. Many of the government's prevention policy intervention like lockdown, social distancing, etc. also decrease both aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Except certain goods like food items, medical and healthcare goods, which has price inelasticity, survived, but the rest all goods faced a decrease in its demand. As decrease in demand leads to decrease in supply, it affected the whole economy. Moreover, instability in the financial market and exchange rate volatility also an after effect. Now we have to discuss about exchange rate in an open economy. There are three types of exchange rate: fixed exchange rate, flexible exchange rate, and managed floating exchange rate. All these three types of exchange rate based on demand for and supply of currencies. It's very similar to product market, but currencies are being demanded and supplied. We call it as foreign exchange market. And the price of currency or price of one currency in terms of another currency is called as exchange rate. So in the case of fixed exchange rate, the central bank or government intervenes to maintain the exchange rate which is already fixed. But in the case of flexible exchange rate, the free market forces, that is demand for and supply of currency, automatically being adjusted and reach the equilibrium exchange rate. And the third one, which is a hybrid system, which imbibes the good qualities or good features of both fixed and flexible exchange rate system. And they can fix a band of upper limit and lower limit. And the exchange rate is free to move or flow between this upper to lower limit. But if it grows beyond that, the government or central bank interfere to bring it back within the band. Then of course, what is foreign exchange market we know, where trading of currencies happen, where demand and supply, all the individuals who are dealing with the currencies are a part of this foreign exchange market. And one important thing what we have to underline in this situation is change in exchange rate. So we already seen there are different economic impacts or there are different economic activities and its change, it impacted the exchange rate. Same way, the change in exchange rate impacted the other sectors or factors or indicators of economy. So it is actually interwoven. So if we study the theory part or the logic behind this change in exchange rate, even it is flexible exchange rate or it is fixed exchange rate, we will get a clear idea how this pandemic is being affected with the exchange rate or why exchange rate volatility, that means frequent change in exchange rate, is due to this pandemic. So for this, we need to know the change in exchange rate is mainly due to appreciation and depreciation, the terminology which is used in flexible exchange rate. Appreciation means increase the value of one currency in terms of other currency, and depreciation means decrease in the value of one currency in terms of other currency. The same concept termed differently under fixed exchange rate system as devaluation and revaluation, and it will be termed as undervaluation or overvaluation in managed floating exchange rate system. So let us see what are the causes of these changes in exchange rate system. Why frequently either a currency appreciates or the currency depreciates. So first thing what we have to need, we know that the price of a product in a market can be changed due to change in demand for and supply of that product. Same way in a currency market or foreign exchange market, the price of the currency, that is the exchange rate, is being changed due to change in demand for and change in supply of that currency. So appreciation or increase in value happen by two means. One is increase in the demand for currency or decrease in the supply of currency. Same way, the basic reason for depreciation of that currency or decrease in the value of that currency is either by decrease in the demand for currency or by increase in the supply of currency. Same as the micro concept or product market and labor market. And now we can see in detail regarding the causes of exchange rate. So the causes of change in exchange rate broadly classified into two, that is due to change in demand and due to change in supply. So first of all, due to change in demand, the first reason is the change in currency demand. Okay, if there is an increase in export or increase foreign demand for export increases, that means foreigners, for example, Indonesians would like to buy goods from India. Okay, that is the foreigners' demand for export. That is what we mean by. So while Indonesians demand goods from India, Indians would like to pay the price of such goods in INR, that is their own home currency, but Indonesians won't have INR. So what they have to do first, in order to pay for the goods what they want to export from India, they have to demand the currency worth of that good. So while they are demanding INR, India supplies that currency. So if Indonesians demand more goods from India, indirectly it means they are demanding more INR. Of course, as the demand for INR increases, it leads to appreciation of INR. Another important thing what we have to note is, once the appreciation of one currency happens, simultaneously depreciation of the other currency in that exchange rate also will happen. And then one more thing to be noted is the exchange rate between two currencies, but one country is having transaction with more than one country. So many multilateral trade organizations are there. Suppose India is having trade relation with the 33 countries. So same way, Indonesia INR and IDR exchange rate, India will have an exchange rate with all other 32 countries as well. So if appreciation of Indian currency happened in terms of Indonesia, that means appreciation of Indian currency happened with the rest all the countries with. And the next is the rate of inflation. Suppose a country is having low rate of inflation. We know inflation means general price rise. So low rate of inflation compared to the trade partner, the price of goods in that country is comparatively less. If the price of the good is comparatively less, the demand for goods more. So the foreign demand for export increases, demand for the currency increases, and the currency appreciates. And the next one is relative growth rate. Suppose our trade partner is having increase in their GDP. They want to buy more goods from other countries, as of course from India as well. So they are demanding more goods from India, means they are demanding more INR that appreciates the Indian currency. So all these components, that is currency demand, this is related to, that is exports of goods and services, then inflation, that is again increase in the demand for good. All this is a part of current account. Okay, so current account is a component or a part of balance of payment account. Again, balance of payment is an accounting statement which shows the economic value of all economic transaction between one country or by the residents of one country and by the residents of all other countries. Okay, so this balance of payment account is having three parts. One is current account, the other is capital account, and the third one is financial account. And this broadly it classified into two, current account and a capital account. Capital account is comparatively a low or small component, but financial component and financial account and capital account together, they name it as capital account. So the next part is, so this is related to current account part or goods and services part, and next is investment factors. So if a inward FDI and FII. So inward FDI and FII, suppose if I consider in terms of India, the foreigners would like to do actual investment and financial investment in India. Okay, so as an Indian, the FDI and FII flowing into the country, that is why inward FDI and FII. Suppose the foreigners would like to invest in China. So in order to invest in China, they need Chinese currency, that is yuan, and increase in demand for yuan, which leads to appreciation of that currency or yuan. Okay, same way, the rate of interest. All these are financial matters. Rate of interest. If the rate of interest of a country is comparatively high, the rest of the world would like to invest or deposit in that country attracted by high interest rate. So in order to deposit in the country with higher interest rate, they have to demand the currency of that country. So in order to demand the currency of that country, of course, as the demand increases, the value of that currency increases and appreciation happens. Then next is inward flow of remittances. This is another component of financial, that is current account. And these financial remittances in the sense that many people or many residents of a country are going abroad and working there. For example, I am an Indian and I am here in Indonesia and working here and earning from here. And what I actually want to do, a part of my earning after the expenditure in Indonesia, I would like to send back to my home country. So if I earn income from Indonesia in terms of IDR, and in order to send the amount to India, I should get INR. So I demand INR. So INR appreciates. So if a country, mainly India and China, is having highest remittances from other countries, that means demand for their currency increases and it appreciates. And the central bank intervention. If all these things are not happening, of course, the central bank, all the central banks are having a official reserve, or we call it as a currency reserve. So they can buy or sell their currency. So automatically, in a situation which demands increase in the price of their currency or appreciation, they themselves demand their currency by selling the foreign currencies with their reserve. Okay, that also increases the demand and it leads to appreciation. And what is happened here, just opposite will happen in the case of supply. Okay, for example, change in currency supply, increase in supply. If the supply increases, instead of appreciation, depreciation. We know that supply of any good increases, its value decreases. Same way, supply of a currency increases, value of the currency decreases. In terms of other currency, we call it as depreciation. Instead of domestic demand, foreign demand for export, we can call domestic demand for import of goods and services. For example, US demand more good from European Union. The demand for euro increases. That means the supply of dollar increases. That means if they give the dollar, then only they will get the euro. So supply of euro increases. And as the supply of euro increases and supply of dollar increases and demand for euro increases, means dollar depreciates, simultaneously euro appreciated. Okay, and this will happen, as I explained already, this will happen in the case of rate of inflation, which is low, relative growth rate, then outward FDI, FII, speculation. Okay, speculation is another important factor. Okay, we can say it as self-fulfilling prophecy at work. Suppose the speculators means the people who are doing business, assuming that the value of a currency increases or a value of a currency decreases. Suppose they speculate that the currency value of India or INR decreases. So if the currency value decreases, they will sell it off. Its supply increases. Of course, it will depreciate. So whatever they speculate, it will happen. That is why we call it as self-fulfilling prophecy at work in the case of speculation. Then another case of change in this exchange rate is simultaneously demand and supply changes. While the demand for and supply of currency changes simultaneously, we have to see the net effect. If the increase in demand is greater than increase in supply of currency, of course, it will happen appreciation. So the net effect is increase in demand. So all these things we should, or the economists or policy makers should be aware of while they are deciding or formulating a policy to overcome various situations, whether it is inflation or it is to overcome deflation or it is to overcome unemployment, all these part and parcel of this pandemic. So here we can use these acronyms, okay? So ADNE, that means it's quite confusing. That's why if ADNA, appreciation decreases net export. Okay, net export already we know it is export minus import. Net export is export minus import. So if there is appreciation of a currency, it will decrease the net export. So decrease the net export means export decrease and import increase. Okay, that is the case. So we can see here domestic products will be more expensive. What happens if domestic currency appreciates? Domestic products will be expensive because the currency value is high. That is why it feels, for the foreigners, it feels the product of that country is dearer or expensive. So of course, if the price of a good is higher than the other country, of course, the demand for that country, that good decreases. That means export will decrease. And this will result in decrease in employment. If the export decreases, all that production units or export industries, their demand decreases. As the demand decreases, they will decrease the production. And as the production decreases, the employment decreases, or it will lead to increase in unemployment. And of course, if there is increase in unemployment, decrease in production, or leads to decrease in the economic growth as well. Then foreign products will be cheaper to buy for the domestic nations because their currency value is high compared to other countries' currency. So it is cheaper to buy goods from foreign countries, or we can call import. So as the goods of other countries cheaper, this domestic economy will buy more goods from other countries and import increases. So export decrease, import increase, net export decreases. This will result in less inflation due to decrease in price of import. Suppose in this country, they are using the goods of less price. Already if this economy facing the inflation, it will help to decrease the inflation. Then export decrease and import increase, the current account balance. Okay, current account balance already, it may be balances, that is value of export and value of import. It can be balance, or it may be surplus or deficit. And all this happen just reverse in the case of depreciation. So currency depreciation, the net export increase. We can, acronym we can give DINE. Okay, depreciation increases net export, DINE. So currency depreciation, it will increase net export. As the net export increases, that means export increased and import decreased, which is a component of aggregate demand, and aggregate demand increases, it leads to economic growth in the short run. Economic growth means increase in the real GDP or level of output in the short run. So the currency depreciation may lead to economic growth in the short run and the growth of export industries. Okay, because export increased. So due to the growth of export industries, investment in export industries increases. Investment is another component of aggregate demand. The aggregate demand is having four components: consumption, C; investment, I; government expenditure, G; and net export, X minus M. So as increase in export increases the AD, it leads to economic growth in the short run, and increase in investment leads to increase in production, and it leads to economic growth in the long run. We call it as potential economic growth. Again, one more after effect of this depreciation, it may lead to cost push inflation. Suppose the country or the domestic country highly depending on imported factors of production, and these imported factors of production increases the cost of production, and due to increase in the cost of production, aggregate supply decreases, and it leads to decrease in GDP as well. Then currency appreciation by reducing net export reduce the real GDP, and effects on unemployment. Depreciation decreases the unemployment. Then cost push inflation again have another effect, may lead to unemployment due to decrease in production due to cost push inflation. Then we can see the effect on current account balance. Depreciation causes increase in export and a decrease in import, and it will help to reduce trade deficit if already the country is having trade deficit. In course of time, they will reduce the trade deficit. Trade deficit means value of export is less and value of import is more. So depreciation lead to increase in import and a decrease in export. So it may helpful to decrease the trade deficit. And next is foreign debt. Currency depreciation lead to increase the value of foreign debt. For example, INR 70 is equal to $1. So due to depreciation, now INR 76 is needed to get $1. Suppose our debt is $1,000, the value of our debt increased from 70,000 to 76,000. Okay, so in that case, we can say the depreciation is having an effect or which having an impact of increase in foreign debt. Then this leads to or impacts the standard of living. So the currency depreciation decrease the standard of living because export increases. Whatever we produced, we are sending to other countries and we are buying less from other countries. So actually, the people of the country are living just below the PPC. We produces and sells, and we are not buying from other countries. So the standard of living is depending on the quantity and quality of goods and services the people use. So the people are getting less goods to consume. That means it will decrease the standard of living of that country. Then again, depreciation lead to increase in aggregate demand. We already see that means it may be inflationary. Due to inflation, again, people can buy less goods and services, and that leads to a decrease in the standard of living. Then this is a case of flexible exchange rate system, and in the case of fixed exchange rate system and managed exchange rate system also, we have already seen the term is different. Instead of depreciation, devaluation in fixed exchange rate and undervaluation in managed floating. Same way, appreciation is revaluation. The term is revaluation under fixed exchange rate and overvaluation in flexible exchange rate system. So here, according to these changes in the exchange rate system, in the fixed exchange rate system, central bank controls. Suppose if the central bank already fixes the exchange rate in consent with the government, and due to increase in demand or decrease in supply if appreciation happen, and it may lead to excess supply. And if there is excess supply which go beyond the fixed exchange rate and that pegged band, what the central bank have to do is bring back or maintain that exchange rate. So in order to maintain that exchange rate, due to this excess supply, they have to, or our own central bank demands our currency by selling or supplying the foreign currency under their disposal. So this is what we told one adjustment to maintain this fixed exchange rate system. And the same technique can be used to adjust with the managed floating. Managed floating is more prone to flexible exchange rate system. But of course, if there is continuous fluctuation or volatility in exchange rate, central bank is authorized or having the right to interfere to control the fluctuation within the bands that they pegged with the exchange rate. So in that case, they will either sell the currency or they will buy the currency according to the situation demands. The currency with the central bank is called as official reserves. Then the second technique to follow or to maintain the fixed exchange rate system or to control the fluctuation is increase in the interest rate system, increase or decrease in the interest rate system. So increase in interest rate system come under a contractionary monetary policy. So of course we know that is to decrease the contractionary monetary policy, that is the policy taken by the central bank monetary policy, and that is to contract the economy, that means to decrease the aggregate demand. So increase in interest rate, that is a contractionary monetary policy. And this also one of the technique to maintain the fixed exchange rate system. Then another is borrowing from abroad. While a country borrow from a foreign country, for example, India borrows from US. So the amount should be in US dollar. So in order to give that loan to India, they should demand the equal amount of that loan amount in INR. That means increase in the demand for INR, which will appreciate our currency. Then effort to limit imports. Not only the central bank, but the government of the country also taking part to maintain the fixed exchange rate or the managed floating exchange rate, that is by limiting the import. So limiting the import is also called as trade protection. It is a part of international trade. So the different means to control this or to limit or to apply this trade protection is tariff, subsidies, quota, administrative trade barriers. So if a country or if the government or central bank would like to do this, any of the trade protection, for example, they want to increase the tariff. If they want to increase the tariff means the value of their good in foreign market increases and its after effects they have to face. And if there is a trade protection by increasing the tariff or giving subsidies to domestic producers or reducing the quota or by strict administrative policies, the foreign country may take retaliation policy that of course will affect our export and exchange rate. Then this import limit is a contractionary fiscal policy, and it may lead to recession. Contractionary policies, contractionary, whether it is contractionary monetary policy or contractionary fiscal policy, it may lead to recession. And in the case of managed floating, central bank intervention, what we discussed, and the central bank is authorized to intervene in the case of managed floating if only there is abrupt changes which disrupts the economic activities. Otherwise, they are not authorized to intervene, but many countries intervene even otherwise. That is, we call it as dirty floating. So here, due to this pandemic, we have seen unemployment of frictional and demand deficient, even a part of structural unemployment. So in order to overcome this unemployment, the government can decide whether they need to appreciate or depreciate the currency. So at time to time, if they want to do the economic growth, they should do the changes in exchange rate. So whatever the economic objective of the government, they will adjust it with the exchange rate and of course with the balance of payment account. That is why I told all these things are interwoven, and what is awareness related to this theory and logic, how to which policy, whether it is monetary policy, if it is monetary policy, expansionary or contractionary policy, same way fiscal policy, whether to expand or contract, or supply side policy, interventionist policy, whichever policy that the government have to be taken, it is with the purpose of, or the purpose is to achieve the macroeconomic objectives are economic growth, reduce the unemployment to the lowest possible, reduce the inequality, and economic stability, that is to control inflation, deflation, and reduce poverty. So most of these things are the side effects of this pandemic. So in order to, and all these aspects of one country is actually competing with that of other country as well. So international trade and the trading of the currencies all will help. But of course, the leading countries, that is the developed countries, are having more power on other countries. So they have a chance to fast recovery and faster economic growth. And the other case, the developing economies or economically less developed countries are having less knowledge or less practice and inefficient policies. So they may remain less developed, or their GDP will go down faster and faster. So with this, I try to finish this. I think this theory part will help you. Of course, data, I didn't take much. It's available. We can compare. We can apply this theory and the logic to analyze various situations, which is the part and parcel of this pandemic. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you all.
It was nice presentation, ma'am. We are very much delighted after hearing from you. Wonderful presentation. You point out all the material facts in a simple manner that every person listening you can understand clearly. We hear a lot of new concepts and strategies from you. We are sure that all the participants got a positive energy now. We thank you, ma'am. We have no words to express our gratitude. Your precious time. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to invite Tristan James to share your experience about our international webinar on impact of COVID-19 exchange rate.
Thank you for the opportunity again. Thank you for inviting me. This is such a wonderful webinar, very insightful, and I certainly hope to see the committee create another webinar in the following days or weeks or months. And if I may add a closing remarks, this year's pandemic has pushed us to reevaluate our beliefs and actions. In the wake of financial crisis, some are calling for a reversal of globalization as the foundation of global economic growth. However, the underlying relevance of globalization to the global economy will not change regardless of its shape or structure. And although I had the privilege to connecting online with a global audience today, the importance of face-to-face communication remains unaltered when it comes to human engagement. And in order to adapt to our new surroundings, we must distinguish those aspects of our beliefs and activities that should not change and those that should. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you, sir. Attention please, participants please note, the attendance cum feedback link is available now in the chat box. All the participants are requested to kindly fill the feedback form before signing out. The link will be valid for 30 minutes only. Participants are kindly requested to fill the link within the time. A wonderful day with wonderful speech is over. Now it's the time to officially wind up the session. Now I invite Mr. Shijil K, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, for vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Good afternoon, all. Today we had a wonderful session on the topic impact of COVID-19 on exchange rate. It is a relevant topic that the pandemic situation made the economic situation very worsen in the world, and each and every country trying to pull out from this situation. And now we have a wonderful session by Lina Lawrence, the resource person of today, who have delivered a wonderful talk on the impact of COVID-19 on exchange rate. On behalf of KR Srinarayana College and Department of Economics, I express sincere thanks to Ms. Lina Lawrence. Thank you, ma'am. And next, I would like to express my sincere thanks to research scholar Preston James from Indonesia and Professor Jacob John, Director of Royal Engineering College, for their valuable comments on the topic. Thank you. Next, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to our beloved principal, Dr. Anil V, and the head of the department, Ms. Amina, Mr. Riju, head of the Department of History, and professors from various colleges and universities, and research scholars from other institutions, and the students. Thank you all.
Attention please, participants please note, the attendance cum feedback link is available now in the chat box. All the participants are requested to kindly fill the feedback form before signing out. The link will be valid for 30 minutes only. Participants are kindly requested to fill the link within the time. On behalf of KR Srinarayana College, we thank you all the participants once again. We also expect your all-hearted cooperation in our future endeavors too. Thank you all for the support. Have a great day.